All right, welcome to our client case study this month. We do these interviews with real working moms that we have worked with inside of our coaching program and who we've helped find control on their back to work pumping journey. And we interview them every month. Well, you'll find a lot more on this channel here as well. Our story today is a really special one to me, and I'll share a little bit more about that later. But if you don't know me yet, my name is Allison Tolman. I'm the creator and the founder of the Pumping for Working Moms coaching program, where we help career-driven women who are committed to breastfeeding and making the transition back to work sustainable and on their own terms. So as we're talking to our guest today, if that feels like something that you're wanting the same long-term support that she's going to kind of describe to you and the same feelings of peace and sustainability in her journey, I will put an application down below wherever you're watching or listening to this so you can apply. But that link is newlittlelife.com/apply. So today we have the opportunity to speak with one of our clients who has a really incredible story to share with you. And this is Sunny. She is an 8-figure business owner and has helped over 3,000 individuals build, launch, and scale their own profitable online businesses, including this one, actually. Sunny is my coach and mentor as well. And it was really fun to be able to work through the other side of that and having her as a client. She is an amazing person and mentor, but she also recently became a new mother and welcomed her first child in July 2023. It continues to amaze me to watch wildly successful women like Sunny also learn to be able to mother the way they want and not have to make compromises. So let's bring Sunny on and hear her story. I'm really excited to share this fun with you today. Welcome, Sunny.
Hi. This is such a full circle moment. This is so amazing. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Because we've done this exact same thing, but backwards before.
Yes.
Which is so crazy. I love it. I'm beyond thrilled to hear your story today because not only are you an amazingly successful business owner, also a brand new mother. And there's a lot of juxtaposition that comes in being in those two roles. So let's just start at the beginning. Tell me a little bit about yourself, what you do for work, and what it was like kind of getting pregnant in the roles you were previously in.
Yeah, I mean, what a ride. I'm like, how much time do we have?
A lot of time.
Okay, great.
Start at the beginning.
So what I do, you spoke to it really lovely, in a lovely way prior to me coming on here, but I help people who have a skill set or an expertise essentially take that skill set and be able to scale it through an online education program for more impact and to be able to reach the people who need the most, who may not be in their local area. So I've been doing this work for over a decade now, and we've had our signature program, which is the Authority Accelerator, which is the program that you're a part of, for coming up on, for coming up on 6 years. And the whole purpose of that program is to help you create, automate, and scale your online education business. And we've been helping people for, like I said, almost 6 years now. And we've taken people from absolute zero, no business, no audience, to scaling to 6-7 figures and beyond. But more than that, I think my true passion in life is giving people who really know what they're talking about and have true credibility a voice, and to be able to really make the impact that they want to make in the way that they want to make it, and to build a business that complements their life and doesn't complicate it. And so that's always been my sort of like ethos and my North Star. And so for myself, I was really put to the test when I decided to start a family.
Nothing will test you more than having a child on
Yeah.
Sure.
And it's funny, like what I think is most interesting about this journey of motherhood is that you think you know, but you really have no clue until you're fully in it. And there is no way to really prepare yourself. Like, people told me, oh, you're going to be so tired and whatever. And I'm like, I've been tired before. Like, I pulled all-nighters before. It's just so different. It's such a different level of exhaustion. It's such a different level of overwhelm. The minute you get pregnant, your brain goes into a level of overdrive that you've never experienced before. And you're starting to think about not just yourself, but also your baby. Yeah. So you're a mother the minute you get pregnant. And, that was overwhelming. And then once the baby's here, that's on steroids. And so navigating being this entrepreneur who has always been super passionate about the work that I do. I love what I do. I feel very lucky that I love what I do so much. So navigating like these almost two identities of like, I am a mom And I'm also this business owner, and I love this aspect of my life too. And I'm a wife, and I'm a friend, and I'm a daughter, and I'm a cousin and an aunt. And so how do we integrate these things? And I'm a very systematic type of person,
Mhm.
and I like a plan
Yep.
and I like control. And,
Yep.
I really had to just surrender to the fact that like I really had no control over this entire experience. And, that started from the very beginning. I actually got pregnant and I ended up having a miscarriage quite early on. And
Mhm.
then I got pregnant again. But I had never felt that sense of like, oh, I'm really helpless in this situation. Like I'm sort of just the vessel and whatever's going to happen is going to happen. So I really tried to nurture that throughout the entire process. But I also knew that what I could control, I was going to control.
Yep.
So
Oh my
we always
goodness.
say in
Yep.
business, there's a lot of parallels. I'm like, control the controllables. So I was like,
Yep.
what are the things that I can have an element of control over? And I knew one of those things was going to be the way that I fed my baby.
Yeah.
And I will say that, like, I wasn't married to the idea of breastfeeding because I didn't want to put an additional layer of pressure on myself in such a
Sure.
sensitive and vulnerable time, but I really wanted to. And we spoke about this when we first talked about, me joining the program. Was like that was the goal, and it's what I really wanted, but I had no idea what I was in for. I had no idea how this was all going to go. So
Mm.
that's where your program just really, it was life changing for me.
Do you feel like it was do you feel like it was a little bit of yourself trying to protect yourself, not really wanting to commit to that, even though
Yes,
you knew it was really what you
1000%.
wanted?
Yes.
Like, I hear those same words a lot from a lot of moms we talk to. They're almost afraid to make a goal because of the extra pressure or the fear of failure or something.
Yeah, I think for sure it's an element of protecting myself. I think it's also an element of like, I don't know, it's like self-preservation from all the noise and the pressure around you and
Mhm.
the external pressure. That is absolute, can I swear on this?
Yeah.
Like it's absolute bullshit. Like nothing makes me
Yeah.
more agitated and angry than the amount of pressure that's put on women from the minute you get pregnant. And so I was just like, well, F that noise. I'm going to do it my way. And if my way turns out to be, I
Yeah.
can breastfeed, amazing. If my way turns out to be, I don't want to do this and it doesn't feel aligned or right for me, that's okay too. But for sure, what I wanted and the vision that I had was to be able to breastfeed.
Sounds like you really wanted control,
Yes.
and you didn't know what was gonna come or what was gonna happen, but you wanted to be in control of that decision, not because someone said you should
Yes.
or because you made kind of an arbitrary goal to yourself.
Yes.
You just wanted to take it day by day and do what you wanted to do in the moment and know how to get there.
I wanted to do what felt right for me and my baby, and that was all
Mhm.
that mattered to me. And whatever that looked like was what it was going to be. But yeah, when I envisioned becoming a mother, I was like, I would love to breastfeed. Like that would be an amazing thing if I could do it. But I also, because I'm such a control freak, I did all this research and I had really talked to
Yeah.
a lot of people, and it was like some people aren't able to, and some people have a lot of problems. And I was like, I am not going to destroy myself if this isn't something I can do.
Yeah.
And if it's not something that can come like quote unquote easy, I don't think it's ever easy. Um, but if there's so much friction that it's making me miserable and I'm not able to properly nourish my child, then like I'm not going to do that to myself.
Yeah.
But having your program allowed me to sort of understand that a lot of it was within my control.
Yeah. Did you have any good examples or people around you to help you figure this out? Or were you kind of just weeding through the online nonsense and getting all of
So
these
I
different.
mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it's so funny to have the lens that I have, because what I always say is like people
Mm.
are overwhelmed with information, but they're starving for transformation. And
Mhm.
so I know that. So I really tried to avoid the rabbit hole of social media. I have never hated Instagram more in my life than when I was pregnant and after I had my baby. Actually, I
Yeah.
haven't used it in a very long time because I'm like, I don't like it. It's very toxic. And my God, the messaging that it sends you when you do become a mom is
Yeah.
just, it's nuts. And
Mhm.
so I was like, no, thank you. And then of course there's like other platforms and whatever, but I'm not on TikTok. I'm not on a bunch of platforms. I just choose not to do those things. But even still, it's the offline noise. It's the friends, the family, there's people in your life that have certain expectations of a woman and how this is supposed to go. And whether they're saying it point blank or they're saying it like in a more subtle way, they think they're still saying to you, your value as a mother is to do this the right way. And they think the right way is to do it the way that they did it. And so there was just so much noise. There is so much noise. And I definitely talked to a few people about their journeys, and I got such varying responses and answers. And a lot of what I was being told didn't really sit well with me. And there was so much conflicting advice that I was just like, I don't need all this information. I just need the plan. I just need somebody to say to me, like, here, we're going to cut through the noise, cut through the clutter. This is all you need to know. And that's exactly what happened with you.
That's amazing to hear. So tell me, what was breastfeeding like in those first few weeks? Because were you able to actually take time off in your business? I know for a lot of people that own their own business, that is alarming to do.
Yes.
So were you able to actually take a chunk off and kind of focus on breastfeeding for a little bit?
I was. I mean, I'm really fortunate to be at a place in my business where I have an incredible team that I'm so grateful for. And so I took a full 3 months off entirely. And then truthfully, by the time I hit the 3-month mark, I was like, oh, it's already here. And then I kind of just like took my sweet time until about 5-6 months, like really getting back into things, because I just didn't feel like myself. I didn't feel like my brain was back online. And I knew that this was such a fleeting time with my baby girl that I was like, I just want to be able to be present. And so I really was fortunate to have, that space to learn, to learn my new body, to learn this new identity, to try and integrate the new identity, learn my baby, to learn breastfeeding, like all those kinds of things. And my journey with breastfeeding started in the hospital. Basically, right when my daughter was born, I had a doula, and my doula basically showed me kind of like how to breastfeed almost within that first hour. And she latched right away. And, it went pretty smoothly. What I didn't know or wasn't prepared for was like cluster feeding and like supply issues and the longevity of keeping this up.
Yeah.
And the sort of 24-hour job that it is in those early days. Like in those first couple months, it feels like all you are doing is you are a human milk machine. And
That
that
probably
was
is all
very,
you're doing.
yeah,
You know?
it's very
It's a lot.
overwhelming. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very and nobody talks about it. Like nobody told me even what cluster feeding was. And I was like, what is happening? Why is she eating so much all at the same time? Like there would be mornings where I was sitting there for like 3 hours at a time. And all I had done that day was got out of bed, fed her for 3 hours on the couch.
Yeah.
She would sleep for a little bit and then we'd feed some more. And I'm like, what is happening?
I'm never going to live my life ever again. This is my new home and I will die here.
I live here now. Like this is my new job. And it really is. It's such an all-encompassing thing, not to mention the other aspects of it too. It's like, I just find this part to me, like it's cruel and it's almost laughable because it's so ignorant. But I remember the nurses in the hospital being like, okay, so big key contributors to being able to breastfeed successfully are you need to be able to sleep and you need to be able to eat, really well. And I'm like, okay. So as I got into it, I was like, when's the sleep happening? Like,
yeah, how are people doing this? What am I doing wrong? Because I'm not sleeping.
And then it's like, okay, well, you're not sleeping, and then your milk supply suffers, and it's like that all of a sudden is like your fault. And it's like, no, I have a new baby and I can't sleep and I'm not sleeping super well. So it's just constant hypocrisy. It's constant contradiction and it's so overwhelming. So I'll be completely transparent, and I've been transparent through this whole thing. I had a night nurse for a couple nights a week, and that was a lifesaver. And I am such a huge proponent. Everybody says it takes a village when you have a baby. Yeah. I would like to know where the village is, because I'm just confused. Yeah. Somebody, if you could tell me, I would love that. North America is really messed up in how we approach motherhood, how we approach postpartum. I'm in Canada. It's better here, but there's still elements where you're like, this is messed up. It is so isolating. You are on your own. And so, yes, we have grandparents that are amazing, but they also work. So they're not able to be there with me a ton. And my husband went back to work after a few weeks. And so it was me, myself, and I trying to navigate this. And I was like, well, you know what? I'm gonna hire a village because I need help.
What else are you supposed to do? Yeah.
Yeah, what else are you supposed to do? And so, and I know that's so privileged. I'm very aware that that sounds very privileged, and I am aware that it is. But I also want to be honest about it, because I'm not going to sit here and say, yes, I did
Yeah.
it all by myself and it was super easy and I figured it out and motherhood is wonderful. It was perfect and roses and unicorns. It wasn't. Like those
Nope.
first couple months, I was like, what's happening? I feel so far removed from myself and I feel so overwhelmed. Like there were just days where I would just sometimes cry, like for an hour by myself, or I'd get in the shower and I'd start crying. Like it just is a level of overwhelm that I don't think you can really depict to people until you're fully in it. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, the contradicting advice of like, you need to get sleep to make sure your supply is good. But it's like most women are not sleeping. Like you have to be
No.
out of your mind. Like most women are. So then their supply suffers and then they feel bad about themselves. And it's just this never ending vicious cycle of like mom shame and mom guilt. And then the food thing, it's like, I could barely feed myself. And I remember hearing people say that before I had a baby. It's like when you have a baby, it's hard to shower and it's hard to feed yourself. And I'm like, how could that be? Now I get it. I'm like,
It's a thing.
it's a
Yeah.
thing. Like it was lucky to get a piece of toast in my mouth in the morning. So like, so if I'm not nourishing my body, like the supply is going to be challenging as well. So yeah, there's just so many elements to it. And I think I really thought it was going to be an easier journey than it was, but it was made a lot easier by knowing what I did need to do to be
Yeah.
able to give myself an advantage.
Yeah, and you brought up something really interesting too is, the nurses in the hospital are wonderful and they're
Mhm.
helping you and they're doing all these things,
Yes.
but they said something to you that kind of stuck in your brain
Mhm.
and it didn't translate into daily practice.
Mm-mm.
And this is one of the big reasons why I really loved the model that my business coach teaches me, which is you. But we get to work with clients more long term,
Mhm.
right? Because even I have a lot of answers, but I
Mhm.
don't have all the answers
Mhm.
for individuals specifically. So
Mhm.
sometimes the first thing we try doesn't actually work in your
Mhm.
life, and we have to try more than one thing, which
Mhm.
is I think if you talk to someone for a one-time consult and they tell you what they think and you go home and you're like, this doesn't work.
Nope.
Now what do you do?
Yep.
So that's something that I really enjoy about working with clients like you is the fact that we do get to build a relationship long
Yes.
term. And as things change, we get to make adjustments throughout the whole process. And I
Yeah.
already know you, so we don't have to go through this whole first time consult thing. You don't have to make an
Oh,
appointment because you don't have time for that.
yeah.
We can work through it in real time, move along, and then you get to move on with
Yeah.
your life.
I think that's the beautiful thing. And I think like the business model we teach people to create is like people should be able to get the outcome that they're desiring just by following your curriculum. But obviously, you have the support baked in as well. And so for me, I was able to experience it truly in real time. I was saying to you offline, but like you're the only program that I've invested into because it was so close to my heart. And I was like, this is what I know I want to learn. And, um, and to be able to follow the curriculum on my own time. I remember I would put my daughter down for a nap and I would dig into like, okay, I'm going to do one lesson today. And slowly but surely, I've chipped away at everything. And I started to really understand what needed to be done. And then when I had specific challenges or questions come up, then I was able to just reach out and post in the community. And not only was I getting you to respond, but also there was the support of these other mothers that were like, I get it. And when
Yeah.
you're in that time, I think it's hard to understand how vulnerable of a time it is and how isolating it is. So to know
Mhm.
that you're not in it alone and that you have other women around you that are like, been there, or I'm in it with you and I see you and I validate what you're feeling is very like it helps you feel like you're part of a community. And I think that's so important in those early days.
There's a lot of people that are unsure about that aspect when they join. They're like, look, I really just need help from an expert. And like, I don't know if I'll engage much. Almost everyone that graduates our program
Yeah,
that leaves is like, I did not realize how much I needed other moms that
it's
were doing the
crucial.
same thing as me because you have friends, you have colleagues, you have a mother, your grandmother, all these things. But someone who's committed like you are and is a working mom, even if you have stay-at-home mom friends, their
Yes.
reality is different than yours. And
Yeah.
it's so I can't even describe the feeling inside of
Oh, it's
communities like ours
incredible.
where you're all doing something really, really similar.
Yeah. It's incredible. And that's kind of like the magic of it is that you feel so seen in a time where
Mhm.
the world kind of turns its back on you. Like it's like you have the baby and then people are like, "Hey, when are you going to bounce back?" And it's like, "Oh, no, no, no. Like I'm underwater. I am drowning and I
Mhm.
just need a life raft." And like those people who get you and see you and are going through the same thing or have been through the same thing, oh my God, they are your lifeline during that time.
And even a partner, as lovely as they are, they have their own
They
roles
don't
in
get
this
it.
experience. They cannot
They don't
understand.
get it. They don't get it.
I'm
And
sure
like,
your partner is amazing, as is
love
mine,
him,
but
love my
they
husband.
that
He had
the
no idea.
true empathy comes from other women
Yeah.
who are lactating as well and know the suck that you're going through every day.
Yes. That's the thing. Like, my husband is incredible. He's an incredible partner. And like, we
Mhm.
are very equal, but he doesn't have a female body. Like, he doesn't know what it's
No.
like to feel like your body is being taken over by an alien when you're pregnant. And
Mhm.
then to have your boobs do these crazy things after, like, it's just like, you're like, what is this? You feel like your
No
body's
break.
not your own. Yeah. No
No
break.
break.
No break.
Mhm.
No break. No
It's
break.
like, "Oh,
That
yeah, you're
part.
tired. You've been doing this for a week now together.
Yes.
You go sleep 8 hours so you feel refreshed." Like, you don't get that as a mom.
No,
You're
no.
you're in it.
That part. Like, I had no idea that in like the early
Mhm.
months, oh no, like even if I can sleep, I'm still having to wake up to either breastfeed or pump.
Yeah,
Like, because if I go too long, then I get engorged. Like, those are all the things that like you just don't think
yeah.
about and are really overwhelming. And then there's the whole factor of like, I didn't even know the term oversupply until I met you. Oversupply, undersupply. Like, you're like, so I got to find the middle ground. And how do I find the middle ground? And what's the right cadence? And how many times should I be pumping a day? And to also try and do this when your brain is like real messed up once
Yeah,
you've had a baby.
yeah.
I remember, I'm so serious on this. It took me 1 week to figure out how to put my pump together after I had my daughter. Like, every day I'd be like, I think I
One
got it.
part at a time. I don't know.
Literally, literally. And I was like,
Yeah.
why is this so hard? And it's so hard.
Why did this not come put together? I cannot do this.
And what are the freaking settings and like all these things? And it's just like having a fast track from you. I was like, okay, great. We're good. I got it.
Just, like, watch this short little lesson. It's done. They
Yes,
have to
it's
think about it.
done.
Yeah.
Yes.
For
Yeah.
sure. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. The newness of motherhood, and I can just picture you, Sunny, sitting on your couch, cluster feeding, in like looking like a mess, being like, I've been in Forbes. I've been freaking Oprah. Like, what is literally happening right now?
It's true. You're like, wait, what has my life become? I swear, like I'm a whole different person than
If they
this,
could
but
see me
that
now, they'd retract the article because this is a
this
freaking
is a
joke.
mess. This is an
Isn't that
absolute
funny?
mess. She's crying. Well,
Yep.
one of my friends put it perfectly. And she also runs a business, and she's like, you're in the leaky phase. Everything is leaking. You're crying. Your boobs are leaking. You're still bleeding. Like, no one told me about that factor. I was like, sorry, I'm wearing a diaper and the baby's wearing a diaper after I
Yeah.
have her. Like, what is going
Not
on?
only do you have to get sleep, feed yourself, and feed the baby, you're also trying to recover from
Trying to recover
literally
from a very
pushing a
traumatic
human out of your
situation.
body. Yeah,
Yes, like,
it's a
and
lot.
I had a very healthy, happy birth. It was still 26 hours of pure hell. Like, it still
Yeah.
hurt like a mother effer, and like it still took a very big toll on my body. My body's still recovering. I still have a hip issue that has not gone back to normal, and my daughter's almost 16 months. Like, so yeah, you're dealing with that, and also like the mental aspect of the birth too, and just remembering it and remembering what it felt like and all of those
Yeah.
things. Like, that's a lot in and of itself. And then you pile on breastfeeding, learning to take care of this tiny human, learning their needs, learning how to understand them, like, and their cries. It's just, yeah, it's more than I ever thought it would be. And it's the duality and so many truths at once of like, oh my gosh, I am so overjoyed and I'm so in love with this baby, and I'm miserable and I don't know what I'm doing and I feel very overwhelmed and incompetent, and I'm a smart person and I've done some really cool things and this is breaking me.
Yeah.
It's like the biggest ego check of life, and it's a very humbling experience, and it's hard, and I just think it's important to be honest about the fact that it's hard. And if you find it easy, oh my gosh, that's amazing for you.
Yeah.
I did not find it easy in those first couple months.
It's unreal. So what was the line where you kind of just like drew the line in the sand and were like, I need help? I think you reached out to us about 6 weeks postpartum, if I remember. And what were you like, I'm done. I need help. I gotta
So
figure this out.
I think I talked to you before I even had my daughter, and I was like, when would I need to do this?
Mm,
And I had my doula, which was great, and she was really helpful through this whole process as well.
mm,
And she sort of was like, and this is different for everybody, but she was like, for you, I think it's important to sort of protect your supply and like create your own supply without pumping for those first 6 weeks. And you had kind of said something similar. It was kind of
Yeah.
like, give yourself the time to kind of find your footing and like figure out how much of a supply you actually need just through actual breastfeeding. And so I talked to you before I had my daughter, which was really helpful. I talked to my doula, and then I knew I was like, at around 6 weeks, I know that I want to start my like pumping journey.
Yeah.
And I had no idea how to do it. And I was so exhausted and so overwhelmed that I was like, I know I'm going to invest in your program. And I mean, I have a huge advantage in knowing you and knowing the work you do and watching the work you do for so long. And I was like, there's no one else. Like, there is nobody else. Like, you're the only person and you're really good at it and you really care. And I was like, this is the person that I want taking care of me through this phase and this stage. So yeah, it was 6 weeks when I enrolled, and I was so ready at that point. And then I started my journey. And it was really eye-opening for me. And it made me feel so empowered in a time when that was not a thing for me.
Yeah. That's like the perfect time to join, in my opinion, especially if you have really strong desires to feed at the breast. And I remember talking to you in pregnancy. You were like, when should I do this? Should I start it now? And I think I asked you, where's your brain power now? Like,
Yeah.
are you really focused on getting this human out of you? Or are you losing sleep about how am I going to feed this thing? And everyone tends to be a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm.
I remember right, I think you were like, I'm kind of focused on getting this thing out.
Yeah.
And started on, okay, well, then put your focus there. Let's reconnect about the 6-week mark, unless you end up pumping earlier, because that happens sometimes.
That does happen. Yeah, that does happen. My best friend started pumping almost immediately. And that's been a completely different journey. She just had her baby 6 weeks ago, actually, funny enough. And I will say for myself too, like 6 weeks was the perfect time for me. But I also think it would have made sense for me to join before I had my daughter for this reason. My brain was able to compute things like putting together a pump at that point. And so I could have at least had a little bit more context before I like was thrown into the deep end. But it worked really well at 6 weeks as well. So it's dependent on everybody. But I think if you are like, if you're like really wanting to know up front, I would do it when you're pregnant.
And that's usually the question I ask is like, where is your brain space? Where is your concern at the moment? Like, I just had a mom join earlier this week who was in her last, few weeks of pregnancy. She's like, I just need to know that it's there so that as soon as I have my baby, I don't have to make these decisions. I just can be like, I already have help and I already know exactly where to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what was it like leading up to this transition back to work? Because listening to you describe motherhood is so real and accurate. So I can't imagine what it was like being, oh my gosh, I have to go back and be the CEO of my 8-figure business while also doing all this crap.
Yeah.
What was that like for you?
On our first all team meeting, I started crying. And I'm fairly certain I said the words, postpartum is really hard. I was like,
and they're like, how does that help us?
They're like, what's happening?
You're a leader.
Yeah. So it was hard. Like it was hard and conflicting, and there was a whole internal battle going on, and there was this like tinge of like the mom guilt coming in because I was like, now I'm not with my daughter 24 hours a day. I remember the first week I went back, I remember I was like in meetings and she was like sleeping on me while I was like doing my work. But yeah, like it just is hard. It's hard, period. And I think someone was asking me the other day, actually, one of your fellow members in AA, they were like, would you do it anything differently? And I was like, the only thing I do differently is to take all the pressure off myself. But I don't know if that's possible. I just feel like I innately had that pressure put on myself, and I was feeling like I needed to do things right.
Yeah.
And it's weird. I give myself a lot of grace in most areas of my life. And like my number one determining factor of success is peace. But that period of time, it just was like, you're just climbing such an uphill battle and such a huge learning curve that it's just, you feel not great about yourself. And it's really challenging. And so I was battling all of this internal mental stuff, not to mention like the hormonal factor of like your hormones don't really go back to normal for, I think it's like 2 years. And so you're feeling a lot of things that like feel sort of out of whack. You're not sleeping super well. And so it was it was a challenge to get back into work. And when I started to get back into work, I was like, wow, my bandwidth to be able to focus and to be able to work in the way that I used to is gone. Like, we're going to grieve that death because she no longer exists.
Nope.
And she will come back, but in a different way. I am fundamentally a different person, a different leader, a different entrepreneur, a different friend, a different everything since having my daughter. And I'm okay with that. And I know that that's ultimately an evolution of who I am, but I really had to learn and unlearn what I was wanting to do and how I was wanting to do things. And I've always been focused on peace at the forefront of everything, but this made it even more real for me. Is like, I just can't work in chaos. I can't work in a reactive way. I need to plan. I need to get ahead on things. And so what do I need to do that? And so it really was this like opportunity for an awakening for myself in terms of my business. And I think it was a maturing for my business as well, where I was like, cool, I have offloaded a lot at this point, but I know that I'm still a bottleneck in some areas. So how can we mitigate this? How can I bring on more people or create more systems around these things? And I will say, like, I think our business is probably in the best place it's ever been because I'm a mom now. And I think
you're kind of forced into that efficiency, and
you are forced. And I'm an efficient person. We've always said, like, efficiency is our love language, 1000%. And so I'm like, I need to get things done in a really efficient manner. And so that's forced me to plan further ahead and to just be really proactive. And I remember a fellow friend of mine who has 2 babies now, and she was like, you will be amazed at how this makes you so much better than you ever were before at everything you do. And I was like, okay. I was like, yeah, sure.
I'm actually already pretty cool. So I don't know how it gets better, but
but now I'm like, oh, it does. Because it just puts everything into perspective. And it allows you a level of focus that you've never really been able to experience before because you have no other choice. Yep. I know I got to be done by 4 every day. Like, I know I have to be like mom duty by a certain time. I know I will not work before 9 or 10 a.m. Like, I just won't because I want to be with my daughter. So yeah, it just puts everything in perspective and it forces you to prioritize in a very efficient and strategic way. And so those first couple months, I felt like Bambi on ice. That was the only way I could really describe it. It was like I was trying to find my feet again. And then I had a meltdown and I talked to my ops manager, who's also a mom, and that's really helpful. And she totally got it. And I was like, I'm struggling. And we kind of were like, what do we need to do? And we put a plan in place. We hired a few more people. And now it's in just this like really beautiful spot.
I think this is something that a lot of mothers don't anticipate or maybe can't even articulate as clearly as you did there. But this
was that clear?
Like, I don't know. You were kind of speaking about this identity shift that happened for you and I think a lot of moms kind of expect, like, I'm going to have the baby, we're going to get the stuff, and then I'm going to go back to work, kind of expecting it to be the same as it was before. But not only are you adding extra logistics to your day, as in pumping on top of your current workload, but you're a completely different person, and your brain, I think it's like a brain power thing, is so much less.
Yeah.
And so to put all this pressure on yourself of not only jumping back in and meeting all these expectations, but also dealing with your lactating breasts and your baby's needs and stuff. I think
that's the thing. Like, yeah, like I didn't even talk to that, but like in those first couple of months when I got back to work, I was pumping 6 or 7 times a day. Yeah. So it's like, that's a full-time job. Like, it's 15 minutes at a time. So like, do the math. Like, that's a lot of time during the day.
Talking like 3 hours out of your workday, you just spent pumping.
Yes. Yeah. And like, yes, I could pump and work at the same time, but like, that's annoying. And my last pump of the day was at about 10 p.m. once I got into like really good rhythm and I wasn't feeding or pumping overnight, but like, I'm waiting up to do this last pump of the night every single night. And it's like, that's how I'm going to sleep. And guess what I'm doing right when I'm waking up? Oh, I'm pumping. So it's just like, it's never not a thing and it's never not there. And the mental load of managing that, nourishing my baby, and also working and managing a team and thousands of clients, it's like, what? so I just really got to a place where I was like, okay, we're going to surrender to this is what it is. Because there's a really great book about self-compassion. I talked about it quite a bit. You're well
I already read it.
Yes.
Thanks for your recommendation. It was every new mom should read this. And
every new mom. Yes.
Recommending it in our program because Holy
Yes.
cow, do we not do
Yeah.
this naturally? Wow.
Yes. So Dr.
Mhm.
Kristen Neff is the woman who read or wrote the book, and she talks about suffering is really just resisting what is. And that's kind of what was happening is I was suffering because I was resisting and fighting against what was actually happening. And so I just kind of said to myself, like, we're in a season. The season is not going to last forever, which is very hard to understand when you're a first time mom. Because I
I
remember in
hated
those
when
days
people
where
would say that. It's like,
you don't know and you have no
okay.
context. Now, when I have another baby, I have the context to be like, oh, those first couple of months, they are chaos. And there's no way to not make them chaos because there is no routine. Like it just is what it is. You sleep when you can sleep and you figure it out. But I know that at least when I was in it this time around, I was like, this is never going to end. I'm never going to get my life back. I'm always going to be exhausted. I'm never
Mhm.
going to sleep again. I'm never going to have my body again. But now I know it's a season. So when I was in the midst of like pumping, working, all the things, I was like, cool, this is all I can do. And I'm not going to take on anything else. And I'm just going to do the bare minimum. I'm going to do what keeps the lights on and keeps us efficient. And that's all I can do. And ironically, here's the irony. I set out at the beginning of last year and I was like, this is not a time for growth. Like, this is not a season for growth in the business.
Mhm.
It's just a season to maintain, to go into maintenance mode. The irony is, I took a full 3 months off. Technically, I kind of was really off for like 4 or 5 months because I was kind of doing the bare minimum, and then came back and we grew the business this year without me being constantly involved, without me being the bottleneck, without me being there all the time. And that is shocking to me,
Yeah.
but also what I teach people. And that for me, when I saw that, it sounds so silly, but like it made me emotional and it felt so validating that I'm like, I fucking did it. Like
Mhm.
I had my daughter. I wasn't actively involved in the business. I got to be so present with her in those precious first months and also got to integrate my life in a way where I'm home. She's sleeping,
Mhm.
having her nap in the next room right now. I was able to get childcare to support when I did go back to work, but I'm also here all the time. Like I'm here, I'm able to see her, I'm able to have this whole integrated life. Like it's doable, it's possible. And I think that's why I'm so adamant and passionate about women and women in entrepreneurship, because in any other situation, your success is dictated by somebody else. The way you go about doing your work is dictated by somebody else. I think it's the best gift and the greatest gift you can give yourself is to be able to create a life and a business that you can determine and you can control. And that stems from every single thing that you have to do. And so for
Mhm.
me, even when it came to pumping, it was like, I'm going to empower myself to do this in a way that feels right for me. I don't care what anybody else does. I don't care what anybody else says. And that's really like the gift that you were able to give me.
Yeah, and that's beautiful to hear you speak of that because that's why I got into this business in the first place is I knew I couldn't help as many people or as well by doing one-on-one visits with
Mhm.
them. And that's still a question we get like, I just have some questions. Can I just get on a call and like just have a consult? And it's like, it won't serve you
Yeah.
long term. Like
Yep.
what you're describing is you've already described multiple different stages of your, 9 to 12 month journey happening so fast, always
Yes.
changing, new things coming up. And that's the beauty of, being brave enough to make that investment to hire someone to help you through the whole process. And a lot of
Yes.
what we do, me and my team, we're pumping experts, right? A lot of us are lactation consultants as well, but we're also a little bit of like life coaches. Like I cannot tell
Mhm.
you how many times moms will come on just like I'm falling apart and we're picking up the pieces, not really pumping related, but there's something really unique about this style of support and coaching. I don't even know a better word to call it other than
No, it is
yeah,
that. It is it
that.
is it is community and it's coaching and also
Mhm.
consulting. Like it's all of
It's
those
like all
things wrapped
wrapped up
into
in one
one.
thing, yeah.
And it's so necessary because you
Yeah.
could have all the information to achieve this outcome on your own, but there are so many intangibles that come up that screw with you, especially in motherhood,
Yeah.
that make it nearly impossible to really take control on your own. And
Mm.
so, like I said, the community and the step by step, like this is what you do now, and this is what you do now.
Here's
I
the
was like,
exact plan. Don't even think about it. I've already laid it out for you.
yeah. I was
Yeah.
like, thank God. I cannot watch another YouTube video on like what to do here. And then the next one I watch says something completely different. Like, no, I'm not interested. I already know who's the best at this. I'm going to go to her. And it was the best thing I ever could have done for myself. And I will also say that because I am surrounded by moms. I'm surrounded by new moms, and
Yeah.
everyone's journey has been so different. And I have watched many of my friends really want to breastfeed and it not work out for them. And I've watched other friends who can't get out of the loop of breastfeeding, and they
Yeah.
are kind of stuck in it until the rest of time, until their child decides they don't want to do it anymore. And I was like, both of those options for me are not what I see as my ideal
Yeah.
situation. And so I knew I just wanted to take the control back as much as I could.
So talk to me about a little bit toward the end of your experience, because I know you kind of figured it out, went through all of these phases of learning and adjusting, which was really, really fun to watch. I think you had initially kind of had like a 12-month goal,
Mhm,
which is a really common goal because then you don't
mhm.
have to introduce formula. A lot of moms are like there. What was it like taking control of the end of your experience for you?
Everything. I mean, I did. So when we first spoke, I was like, I'd like to get to 12 months. But what I will say about that, and I did this very lengthy post in your community when I decided to wean off, which was around the 8-month mark. I said, like, I'd set this arbitrary goal and I thought 12 months is where I wanted to get to. But really, what my subtext was and what my subconscious was I just want to be in control. I
Yeah.
just want to be in control of this journey, and I want to do what feels right for me. And so around the 8-month mark, I found that it wasn't aligned for me anymore. And I felt like I did an incredible job of purely breastfeeding until that point. And I had also built enough with your guidance, I had built enough of a supply that we could do a mix of formula and breast milk until she was a year old. And so I was like, I did it on my own terms. And so what I shared in your community and what I will say again here is like it equipped me and empowered me to know what was right for me in a time when it's very confusing and overwhelming to figure out what your voice is saying and what your intuition is saying. And so I just knew, I was like, okay, this for me now doesn't feel in alignment. And also it's making me feel kind of, my mental health was suffering. It was too much at that point. And I was like, I've done what I wanted to do. I did this my way on my terms. I fed my daughter in the way that I wanted to. And now it's okay for me to start weaning off and to have a combination and to sort of start to get my body autonomy back. And that felt great for me and my individual journey. And I will say, like, that is the greatest gift you can give a woman when you're in those stages of early motherhood, is like to be able to say, I made the decision of how I wanted to do this and when I wanted to stop. What a gift. Because most people don't have the opportunity to say, okay, I think I'm done. I'm going to start weaning off. Most people are either forced to breastfeed longer than they actually want to, or they have to stop a lot earlier because they're having major supply issues. And for me, none of that was an issue. I remember going to a party when I was around that 8-month mark, and I had to pump while I was at the party. And there were a lot of other fellow moms there who have older kids. And I came out with like my milk, and they were like, I never got that much from a pumping session. And I was like, oh, I was like, you should have taken Allison's course.
I mean, you should have done that.
Yeah. But I was like,
Yeah.
this is the norm for me. And so that allowed it to be really easy. The minute I started your program, the feeding part of like being a mom felt so easy. I was like, I know exactly what I need to do. I know exactly
Yeah.
when I need to do it. Just got to follow the plan, which takes the thinking out of the process. It takes the guesswork out of the process. And that's all you can ask for when you have way too many other things you have to think about.
Yeah. Have a roadmap, know what to do, and get it done. It's interesting that the control aspect, I think, is what a lot of moms actually want,
Yeah.
but it is really hard to separate it from the ounces. I think a lot of it's like when we try and set different goals inside of our program community, like I said, it's a really holistic based approach to this. So we try and set non-ounce related
Yes.
goals because
Yes.
it's more, you are more than the milk that you produce,
Mhm.
right? That your
Absolutely.
worth is not measured in ounces. And I think a lot of people want the control at the end of the day, but it's a hard thing to articulate. Do you
It's
feel like you
yeah.
didn't, what was that like?
I I think it's because I took your program so early on. I was never fixated on the ounces. That's also why that comment at the party kind of took me off guard, because I was like, oh,
Yeah.
this is just my norm.
It's a more common way of thinking
Yeah.
is ounces, ounces, ounces for a certain amount
Well,
of time, you
I
know?
think that's because of social media. Like, I think that
Mhm.
I remember seeing Instagram videos of like these women pumping like full bottles and being like, well, that's what you're supposed to do. But then my daughter didn't even want a full bottle. So it's like, well, no, you're not
What
actually supposed to do that. So
Yeah.
we're feeding to
Mhm.
what she needs, not what we think she needs. And if you get you get an amount more than what she needs, awesome. That's kind of something you can put into backstock. But I never focused on the ounces because you don't talk about focusing on the ounces inside the program.
Not
You
really.
talk about the process to achieve whatever is actually right for you and your baby.
Mhm. And we have moms like you that end up intentionally building a little bit of an oversupply, sometimes because they wanna wean early. Like, that's
Yeah.
a common thing is I don't wanna be pumping for a
Yes.
long time, so I want some extra milk so we can still feed that to my baby and do the thing without that happens frequently.
Mhm.
And especially for working moms, having pumping as part of your experience, you do have a little bit more control, which
Way
you can use
more.
to your advantage, but it can also be a detriment. When you see the
Yes.
milk coming out and then you have to decide how much to give your baby in a bottle,
Oh,
it it just you have more control, but you also have more control. Is something
yes.
I say pretty often.
Yeah. No,
And
it's totally true. It's
yeah.
totally true. It's like that for me made such a massive difference because I I controlled the controllables, meaning that I knew what I
Yeah.
needed to do every day and I stuck to that game plan. And that was sort of like, okay, how many times a day do I need to pump? What's the cadence that I need to pump on? That was like clockwork. Every day was the exact same. My husband always jokes, he's like, you're like a robot. Like, and I am in a lot of ways. Like, when I know what needs to be
Yeah.
done, I do it without fail. I'm like wildly disciplined in that way, probably to a fault. But in this case, it worked out so well because I was like, I know what I need to do. I'm not even going to think about it. And then I have exactly what I need. And if I have too much, then it starts to go into that backstock supply that we then use to be able to feed her until 12 months with a mix of formula and breast milk.
Yeah, and you're describing so many different aspects of control here of knowing what works for you,
Mhm.
because it's different for everyone. Like I can't just hand you a pumping schedule and say, this is all you need.
No.
For some people, that is the thing that has to stay consistent. For other people, it's other factors.
Yeah.
Making sure we're getting enough letdowns and maybe we can't work while we're pumping because it makes it harder to get the
Yes,
milk out. Maybe we
totally.
like have to do different technique. Like
And, like,
it's
having,
so
like there's such
individual.
little things. I remember you saying, like,
I know.
"It's nice to have a pumping station," and I was like, "Oh, that's a good idea." So I had this one area in the house where I was like, "This
Yeah.
is where I go to pump." And
Mhm.
if I would need to pump when I worked, I would only wear, like, my wearable breast pumps because I was like, "I
Mhm.
can't handle the cords and stuff in the way, like, it drives me mental."
Yeah.
And so there's little things that I don't think you can really appreciate until you're in it, of like making it your own and not
Mhm.
feeling like you are forced to be doing this, but it's actually my choice and I'm going to do it in this way. And one thing that I learned as I was in this journey is also that, like, of course, breastfeeding was important to me. And this is going to sound incredibly stupid, especially to you who's such an expert at this, but like, I
Mhm.
was like, oh, like when I say I want to breastfeed until a year, I had no idea that involved pumping. Like that's how like ignorant I was about the whole, and you're like, well, you need to pump in order to like, whatever. And I was like, oh, and then also throughout the journey, I met a lot of women in my life who basically were like, oh, I never pumped and I never gave my daughter or son the bottle. And I was forced to breastfeed the whole time, which limits your freedom a
Yeah.
lot more. And I was like, the thought of that made me so claustrophobic. And I didn't know that was a thing. I was like, oh, if I don't introduce the bottle and if I don't introduce pumping in my routine, I'm only going to be able to feed my child from my boob. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, not, it wasn't for me. It's for
No.
some people. It was not for me.
Mhm.
And I needed to know that I had the choice. I had the freedom to be able to leave the house or go and do something with my friends or feel like a normal
Mhm.
human if I wanted to.
Yeah. Was that a hard choice to make, kind of ending that experience for you? And I think it took you 5 or so weeks to kind of wean down, which is great that you even had the control to do that on your
Oh
own.
my God.
Because you don't just get to like stay, I'm done and
No.
stop.
Nope, that's
Like, that's
also a
not how
fun
that
surprise.
works.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah.
But I know people who have just cold turkey stopped, and that's incredibly difficult and like can be really awful because there's like
dangerous
mastitis
even
and
health-wise.
all those
Yeah.
things.
Mhm.
So yeah, didn't know how long it was going to take to wean, learned and understood like what the process was going to look like. And for me, I will be totally honest with you, that was one of the hardest parts of that first year
Yeah.
because of the hormonal upheaval that I had no idea was going to happen when I weaned off. Like, and I know it affects everybody differently. I was not well during that time. I was really sad. And it wasn't because I was stopping. It was
Yeah.
because like my hormones were messed up.
Yeah, kinda crazy. Yep.
And yeah, and, and I just didn't feel like myself.
Mhm.
And so yeah, that process was probably the hardest. It's ironic. The hardest part of the breastfeeding journey was actually stopping the breastfeeding journey. It was stopping the pumping and breastfeeding journey. That for me was the hardest part because it I my body was just sort of sent into an upheaval that I didn't really anticipate. I was like, oh no, that stuff all happened at the beginning. And then you go through this phase and you're like, oh no, there it is again. Like my hormones are not normal. I'm still not 100%. And I feel really blue when I'm in this
Yeah.
journey of weaning. And so I think that's something that I've talked to a few of my friends about now. And like, especially my friends who are in the pumping and breastfeeding journey, I'm like,
Mhm.
just be aware it could happen. And I want to know. Like I did so much research before I became a mom and like that made me feel like I was in control even though it was completely not true. But like I wanted to know and be prepared for all of the stuff that could potentially happen. So it didn't come as a surprise. And that was really the only thing that I was like, "Oh wow, this is kind of shocking that like I feel this badly weaning off of pumping and breastfeeding."
Yeah. Do you think you would have been able to feed your daughter as long as you did without some help and guidance
No,
throughout that process? Like,
absolutely
at
not.
what point do you think you would have been like, "Nope, I'm done. Like, this sucks." You know?
It's such a good question. I don't know, but I will say that some of the like maybe clues for me were at around 4 months was when so we are introduced the bottle very early. We started, I think it was like 2 weeks we introduced the bottle.
Yeah, great.
And that was with breast milk. And she took to it right away. And someone had told me that like if you want to have the bottle
Yeah,
introduced
really
or
smart.
because
Mhm.
there's like the whole like nipple confusion thing, which I don't think is true, but I'm not an expert. But anyways, I feel like they fear monger that with women.
Yeah.
But but so I did that early, and then at about 4 months was when we really started to sort of consistently use the bottle, and it was more so when I was like ready to kind of leave the house a little bit,
Yeah.
and like felt like I wanted to like maybe go for a walk or go to dinner or go to the mall with like my husband and my daughter, and I didn't want to have to breastfeed at all times. And so I think if I didn't have the guidance, if I didn't know how to manage my supply, I would think probably at about 4 months I would have given up.
Just kinda said, "I need some space,
I need my
and
body
I'm
a
gonna
little
take
bit.
it." Yeah.
I need my time a little bit.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, that was very real for me.
Yeah. As we kind of wrap up our conversation here, I would love to know what advice you would give to a new mom, especially one who is in your situation, a business owner. You've got a lot on your plate. You know you're going back to work. I know you've given a lot of great advice so far. So, maybe you've said it all. But I think these really high level professionals, I think that, obviously there's a lot of privilege that comes from being in a
Yeah.
position like yours, but you're also really isolated and you have some unique challenges, and high level professionals like you are really who I love working with, these really like control oriented, plan kind of based, but that you also have a lot of other things going on
Mhm,
in your life that are really important to you.
mhm.
And how do we find this balance? So any advice you'd give to a mom maybe in a similar position to you, who's at the beginning of this journey?
Yeah. So I hesitate to give any advice because they're probably getting so much already. And
Yeah.
I advise you to one in one ear, out the other for most of it, to be honest, unless it's coming from a
Yeah.
trusted source and someone you really know knows what they're talking about. Um, but what I will say, and what I would say to myself if I could go back in time, is like ride the wave. Ride the wave. Know that it's going to be an unpredictable journey. There is so much that is out of your control. And I know that you like control, but there's a lot about this that is out of your control, and that's okay. And you're going to learn, and every day is different, and learn to embrace that. And the biggest piece of advice is control the controllables, the things you can have control over, like feeding,
Mhm.
control that. And if you want to be equipped with the plan before you have the baby, there's nothing wrong with that. Do it. Whatever makes you feel more secure, empowered, and
Mhm.
equipped to handle this really wild journey, do those things. There is zero shame in it. And I remember people saying to me like, oh my gosh, you're such a control freak. You're trying to control all of these things and like kind of making fun of me for it. And I'm like, that's your projection of your own shit because you didn't have control when you were in my situation. But I know myself, and I know even if this doesn't go according to plan, at least I did what I needed to do to equip myself. And that's
Yeah.
all I can control.
I think sometimes putting yourself in that position, I can walk away from this knowing I did everything in my
I
power
could.
and I did what I could and I made a choice for myself. I think is really all you can expect from this journey. We can't guarantee milk supplies. We can't guarantee that things are going to go well, that you're not going to have a death in the family that sends you traveling overseas. And now you're like, crazy stuff happens. Not only just the normal crazy, but
Yes.
extra crazy happens too. And
Yes.
the only thing you can really give yourself, I love that, is the control and at least the things that are in your power. So
yeah, I always think it's funny. There's that book. It's like what to know, like when you're expecting, or like something like that, like what to expect when you're expecting. And it's like you just expect the unexpected. Like that's all you can expect. Expect the
Get
unexpected.
a good team in your corner. It's the same with birth. Like you hired a birth doula because you didn't know how that was going to go.
Oh
like having an expert in your corner, I think, can make a big difference in your mental peace.
Massive difference. And she was, my husband and I both to this day were like, thank goodness she was there. Thank goodness she was there. Like, and that was for me what made me feel better as an individual human. That's not going to be for everybody, but I think I equate a lot of my motherhood journey to like a lot of what I've gone through in business, and like the right people around you makes all of the difference.
Yeah. And I can see so many correlations too, even in the mothers that I help. Like you've really helped me build a business that is efficient and makes a big impact on the women that we serve and is peaceful. And that is, again, what I'm trying to teach to the women I'm serving is how do we be efficient? How do you have the biggest impact with honestly the least amount of work?
Yes.
And how do you find peace in your life and feel in control? And so it's amazing to just see the full circle come around. And I think even me living really intentionally that way helps me serve clients that way. And I think at the end of the day, even if they can't articulate it at the beginning, as long as we can build that trust and say like, I got you.
Yes.
I trust me that we can get you to where you don't even know you want to go. Having the bravery to do that, I think is step one in actually surviving. And not only that, but thriving. In this experience,
Yes. I remember when I got the routine sort of down of what I needed to do every day, I was like, cool, we're off to the races. Like now I feel like I can work and I can live my life and I can also be really present with my daughter because I'm not worried constantly about this aspect, which if you don't feel like you have the right support in place, it really does become all consuming. It becomes an all consuming thing of like, what's wrong with me? How do I fix this? And then you're going down the rabbit holes of trying to do it on your own. And it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. Well, what a ride you have brought us into in this little bit, but so accurate. And I think you spoke really honestly and vulnerably about a lot of aspects of motherhood that not only caught you off guard, but that you were able to kind of handle and work through. And the beautiful thing about, being a member of our program is if you have another baby, we're going to help you through the next one too.
Yes.
It's literally lifetime access. So
I will be checking in as soon as that happens.
No pressure for me. You live your life how you want to live it, but we will be here and ready to walk you through that again. And it's going to be it's always easier the second time. It's fun to work with moms. Again and again, and it becomes easier for everybody, but we'll welcome you back anytime. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So lovely to talk with you, Sunny, today. And if you made it through this whole experience and listened to this whole call and recording with us, if you want help to kind of get some of these same feelings and experiences that Sunny's experienced, there is a link down in the description to book a call with my team. And we can walk you through, can we help you? Are you the kind of person we like to help? We can make a decision together and see if that feels good to you. So we'll speak more soon. I'm so proud of you, Sunny. I just want to say that you handled this beautifully, even through the messy parts of that. And I think that speaks a lot to you as a person and what you're willing to do to make it work.
Thank you. And I just want to say the work you do is so crucially important, and it is so much bigger than just being able to nourish your baby, which is huge. It is a massive amount of empowerment for women, which is crucially important in a journey that makes you feel like you have no power. So thank you for the work that you do. It is so, so, so important on so many levels.
I wish moms, I hope they really take that in. It's really hard to describe that at the beginning of an experience. You're like, oh, okay, empowerment, whatever. Like I literally just need to feed my baby.
Yeah.
But this is what we're doing. And this is where you can get with the right kind of support and just that guide and map to do it. So thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to talk with us today, Sunny.
Thank
It's been
you.
absolutely lovely.
Thank you.
Bye.